everyone, I tried something new with my hair, so if you don't like it, please don't tell me. A lot of you guys probably already know this, but I am a Glossier rep, a Glossier affiliate. Being a Glossier affiliate means that I have my own link, my own rep link, that I can use to promote their products and sell through the link and make a commission if any orders are placed through the link. When you guys use the link, you guys save 10% and I basically get the 10% that you saved. On this channel, I do a lot of Glossier related content, whether that's a half face of Glossier, half face of another brand, or Glossier drugstore dupes. I've been using the brand for quite some time now, 3 years at this point I've been using the brand. I'm super familiar with the products. I have basically the entire collection, but with all that being said, I am a makeup lover first. I am a cosmetics lover. I love makeup. At the end of the day, I am here for my love of makeup. Being an affiliate with Glossier obviously has some amazing benefits and advantages, and I honestly feel like in my YouTube career I would not be here without my partnership I suppose with Glossier. But sometimes we do just have to acknowledge that Glossier doesn't work for everyone. Yesterday on my Instagram, I asked you guys to let me know what Glossier products just didn't work for you and why. I've been really wanting to make this video for quite some time, but I felt like bringing in your opinions was going to be really important to see exactly what products did not work for you, why you didn't like them. And because I love makeup so much, I work in the industry, I work at Ulta. I've been collecting with and experimenting with makeup since I was like 10. I always, or at least try to always, have alternatives and other suggestions ready when there is a product that doesn't work for you. That's literally what my job at Ulta consists of. If you come in and your foundation suddenly stops working for you, I'm there to help you find an alternative, and that's what this video is going to be about, Glossier alternatives. So before I get into my Glossier product alternatives, I do want to let you guys know that this isn't a dupe video. Some of the product alternatives might be more expensive than the Glossier products. This is not a video about cheaper alternatives, more accessible alternatives. This is a video about product alternatives. A lot of times within any brand, a product just ends up not working for somebody, and these are the products that if a Glossier product didn't work for you, this is what I would recommend instead. And seeing this right here, you guys have a lot of products that do not work for you from Glossier. The first Glossier product I'm going to offer alternatives for is the Glossier Stretch Concealer. Glossier Stretch Concealer is a personal favorite of mine. I really like the coverage of it. I think it gives a true medium coverage. I also really love the dewiness and the creaminess of this concealer. However, that is a feature that a lot of you guys disliked about the concealer. If you felt the Glossier Stretch Concealer was just a little bit too dewy for you, or it creased a little bit too much for you, this is definitely not a creaseless concealer. But if those features are something that do not work for you, I would really recommend the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. The NARS concealer compared to the Glossier concealer is going to be a soft matte finish, so that will definitely help if the Glossier concealer is just a little bit too dewy for you. It also offers a little bit more coverage, so that is really helpful if you are trying to cover up something maybe like hyperpigmentation or a scar or just like a really angry pimple. I do find that the NARS concealer does last a little bit longer as well. However, you won't really get the no makeup look that you will get with the Glossier Stretch Concealer. But if the Glossier Stretch Concealer doesn't work for you for whatever reason, I do think that you would be better off getting the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. Another pretty decent alternative to the Glossier Stretch Concealer is the Undone Beauty Concealer. This one is going to be a closer dupe, and it is also less expensive than the Glossier Stretch Concealer. I find these two to have very similar coverages. However, I do think the Undone Concealer might be a little bit more coverage. The shade range for the Undone Concealer is not as extensive as the Glossier Concealer, but the Undone Concealer is a really good alternative. I did see a lot of you guys saying that the cloud paints don't work for you, and that makes my heart really sad because these are like my favorite product. I don't actually have an alternative for the Glossier cloud paints, but I would say if the cloud paints didn't work for you, I probably wouldn't recommend another liquid blush. I probably would recommend a cream blush that's more in a potted form. Something definitely more similar to the Undone Beauty cream blush. However, the cloud paints from Glossier I do find to just be a really unique formula. I don't have other liquid blushes that are as pigmented as these are while still being as creamy and liquidy but not too liquidy. It is just a pretty unique liquid blush formula. I find that other blushes are either too thick and drying or they are too sheer and runny, and this is just the perfect in between. So I don't have an alternative for that, but I would just really recommend a cream blush at that point if these are not working for you. Next product I have some alternatives for is the Glossier Haloscope. Some of you guys that were saying the Haloscope didn't work for you was saying that the Haloscope is a little bit too dry. And I have noticed that before, but I do notice that when you kind of like smush up the Haloscope a little bit, it does kind of get a little bit creamier. So that is something that if you already own the Haloscope, you might want to experiment a little bit, maybe like digging it a little bit in your skin, kind of just to like break it up a little bit, kind of make it not as hard, because I totally can get that, especially when I'm applying cream. Shit, that was so scary. I do have a couple of Haloscope alternatives though, and all of these do happen to be more affordable alternatives. The first two pretty much being dupes for the Haloscope, and with that being said, with them being a dupe, I feel like you might run into the same problems that you have with the Glossier Haloscope if you decide to go with these instead, because they are a stick form. They are a little bit, you know, hard, like they're hard to put on the skin a little bit, but as you can see, it offers a beautiful, beautiful glow, natural dew to the skin. So I guess these are more so dupes than, you know, alternatives, but the NYX High Glass I think would be a pretty good alternative. It's not going to be a super wet or creamy cream highlight, which I don't think the Haloscope is. The Haloscope is definitely more of like a dew. The NYX High Glass is a little bit more like a cream to powder, but the reason why I think this would be a good alternative is because it's not a stick. It's still going to give your skin a really nice natural looking dew. It's also not as creamy, but it will still give your skin that like wet look. So I do think a product like this would be a good alternative to the Glossier Haloscope if the Haloscope isn't working for you. The next Glossier product I want to share alternatives for is the Glossier Brow Flick. I have grown to actually really like the Brow Flick, but I do know that there are flaws to it. I don't love that I do have to clean off the tip in between uses, so I do have to periodically clean off the tip. Whenever you clean off the tip, it does work pretty much like a new, freshly opened brow flick, which is kind of nice. I also, for my brows personally, really like the look of the brown brow flick in my brows. But I do know that some people, this just doesn't work for them. I think a lot of the issues that people might have with it is that the actual brush tip is a little thicker, and it might be a little bit too thick for their liking, for when they're kind of drawing on their little brow hairs. So I have two brow flick alternatives. The first one being the Urban Decay Brow Blade. The cool thing about the brow blade is it does come with one section where it is like a brow pencil type thing. So that's kind of nice, kind of handy. I do kind of wish it just came with a little spoolie on one end. It does have their version of like a brow marker, brow tip. The brow tip on this is a lot tinier, so you do have the ability of getting very tiny hair strokes. I think compared to the brow flick, if you are looking for a brush tip that is a little bit more tiny, that is a little bit more precise, you probably would like the brow blade a lot. And then the other alternative that I have to the brow flick is the Lime Crime Bushy Brows. I have not had this product for too long, but I have been using it quite a bit recently and I love it. I am wearing it in my brows right now. I think that the product is amazing. I love the hair-like strokes I can get with the product. I haven't noticed any buildup in the tip like the brow flick gets. And I also noticed that this deposits a little bit more pigment than the brow flick. I did see you guys saying that the brow flick wasn't pigmented enough or it didn't come in a color that you like. The Lime Crime Bushy Brow I noticed is more pigmented than the brow flick from Glossier, and they do offer more hair shade options. So those are two product alternatives to the Glossier Brow Flick if the Brow Flick didn't work for you. Another product I saw a lot of you guys had issues with are the Glossier Play Color Slides. The Glossier Color Slides are actually why I wanted to do this video in the first place, because these don't really work for me either. I find myself wishing that these were creamier, that they were more pigmented, and an alternative to the Glossier Color Slides would be the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Pencils. I also did try to like match up the colors a little bit. But the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Pencils are so creamy. They are really nice and blendable. They're really pigmented as well. They are so much more pleasant to use. I just noticed too even that the Urban Decay pencils are much smoother than the Glossier Color Slides. Also with the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On pencils, there is a extensive color range in these pencils. The Glossier Color Slides do come in some fun color shades, but the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On pencils come with fun color shades times 10. So they have a really fun range of different colors. They also have obviously some more neutral colors, and they are overall just a better eye pencil. So the Urban Decay 24/7 eye pencils are definitely an alternative to the Glossier Color Slides. The next Glossier alternative is going to be for their lid stars. I personally like the lid stars because I recognize what they are for. They are really just a hint, a wash of shimmer or little bits of color on the eyelid. And for me personally, these do work fine. I find them to blend out well. They don't ever get patchy on me. These are also really, really long wearing for me. But I did notice on my Instagram story, a lot of you guys said that these are just a little bit too drying. You don't like the sheerness of them. They do end up being patchy on you. And as an alternative, I would recommend the Kosas 10-second eyeshadows. The 10-second eyeshadows from Kosas are going to be a thin formula. I wouldn't say that they're creamy, but they're just like a little bit more liquidy than the lid stars. So they're going to be a little bit more easy to use and manipulate on the eyes and blend out and just work with overall. They also are a little bit more pigmented and I guess more opaque than the Glossier lid stars. So that is something that is desirable about these. So if the Glossier lid stars just didn't work for you, I think that you would like the Kosas 10-second eyeshadows a little bit better. They are going to be a little bit more creamy or more hydrating on the eye. They are going to also be a little bit more pigmented. However, it's still a thin layer of liquid eyeshadow, which I think is what is appealing about the Glossier lid stars. So you won't lose that by going with the alternative. The next product is the Glossier Lash Lick. I saw a lot of you guys saying that the Glossier Lash Lick didn't do anything for your lashes, and I can totally see how this mascara wouldn't work for a lot of people. So an alternative, which is actually a new discovery of mine, is the Wet n Wild Mega Length Mascara. I think that this gives a really, really similar effect to the Glossier Lash Lick, and it even has a pretty similar wand. It's just a thin, basic wand. Yeah, the Wet n Wild wand is just a little bit thinner. However, I think the Wet n Wild formula is a little bit thicker than the Lash Lick. So if the Lash Lick doesn't do anything for your lashes, but you still want a natural mascara look, I think that you'll really like the Wet n Wild Mega Length Mascara, but try to only stick to 1 to 2 coats of this mascara. I think you'll realize just from one coat you probably don't need a second one if you are trying to do the natural look. But if the Glossier Lash Lick didn't work for you, I really recommend the Wet n Wild Mega Length. Also, honorable mention, I love the Honest Beauty mascara. I think it's amazing, and I think it is a pretty good dupe for the Glossier Lash Lick, but I think that you can do more with this mascara. You can take it from daytime to evening time. So yeah, if you're wanting a true Lash Lick dupe, I think that you should go with the Wet n Wild Mega Length. The last Glossier alternatives are going to be for some of their lip products. I do not have an alternative for the Glossier Generation G lipstick, although I did see a lot of you guys saying that the Generation G lipstick just didn't work for you. In that case, a lot of you guys were saying that it was too drying or not pigmented enough. And I think that just is what the product is. It is a matte blotted lip formula, so it is going to be a little bit more drying and a little bit more sheer. I really like the formula. I think it's a unique formula. It's not like anything I have in my collection. That's why I don't have an alternative for it. But I think if the Generation G lipsticks don't work for you for those reasons, I would probably just suggest a more hydrating tinted balm, and I really like the Honest Beauty tinted lip balms that they have. The Glossier lip gloss is my personal favorite lip gloss formula. I personally really like that it is a sticky gloss. I don't know, I don't mind a sticky gloss. But in my Instagram story, I noticed that a lot of you guys did not like the Glossier lip gloss because it was a little bit too sticky. So an alternative gloss that I would recommend to avoid the stickiness but still get a nice glossy look and a nice plump look would be the Tarte, or I don't think this is the Tarte line. Is this their Sugar Rush line? Yeah. So it's the Tarte Sugar Rush Fresh Pressed lip gloss. One, this lip gloss smells like candy. It smells like a Jolly Rancher or something. It's so delicious smelling. It's so cute. Even though this lip gloss is clear, it still has that kind of like clear pinky tint, very similar to the original Glossier lip gloss. When you apply it, you still get that really beautiful glossy lip without the stick. So I think if you are looking for an alternative to the Glossier lip gloss because it's a little bit too sticky for you, I think you would really like the Tarte Sugar Rush lip gloss in Fresh Pressed. The last Glossier product that I have alternatives for is the Glossier Play Vinylic Lips. I saw some of you guys saying that this product just didn't work for you. I even saw some of you guys saying that you guys got that gross white ring around your lips. That does happen with a lot of different lip formulas, but I have two alternatives to this very unique formula. This definitely was a little bit more challenging to do, but the NARS Velvet Lip Glides I think are a pretty good alternative. I think very similarly to the Glossier Vinylic Lip formula, these aren't sticky at all. They are kind of like a gloss and lipstick hybrid. This top one is the NARS Velvet Lip Glide, and then this is the Glossier Vinylic Lip. I feel like they both have the same amount of shine to them. The Glossier Vinylic Lip is a little bit thicker, but I think that if the Vinylic Lip doesn't work for you, if you get that sort of white ring around your lips or the formula just doesn't work for you, I think having a thinner formula would be a nice alternative. The NARS Velvet Lip Glide, by the way, is in the shade Swing. Now, if you got the Vinylic Lip thinking that it was going to be a very full coverage lip gloss, but you kind of feel like it's not lip glossy enough, an alternative to kind of satisfy those needs would definitely be the Anastasia Beverly Hills lip glosses. These are full coverage, long wearing, glossy lip glosses. They are sticky, so that is definitely something to keep in mind. But I think that if you were looking for a true gloss with a lot of pigment to it, and it's gonna be like a little bit more long wearing, it's thick, it's sticky, it's a gloss, I think you'd really like the Anastasia Beverly Hills formula. This used to be my favorite shade. This is in Terra. So pretty. So those were all the Glossier products that I had alternatives for. There obviously are other products in the Glossier line, like their skin tint and their Wowder and their Sky Washes. I personally didn't have alternatives for those products. I feel like the line overall has really unique formulas that are kind of tricky to dupe or tricky to find alternatives for, but I did try my best. If you personally know of any other alternatives to different products in the Glossier line, definitely leave them in the comments down below. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you aren't already subscribed, definitely go ahead and do so, and hopefully I see you next time.